Welcome to, this is the second in a series of 5 webinars on how to nominate for the New South Wales Training Awards. This webinar, we're focusing on how to communicate with an applicant, and the purpose of these webinars is to demystify the process of actually nominating someone for the New South Wales Training Awards. So the key question we're going to ask, or we're going to start asking with this one, is how do you communicate with an applicant when you are nominating them for the New South Wales Training Awards? This is a really important question, because if you identify someone that you think would be a really good applicant for the New South Wales Training Awards and you decide to nominate them, you must let them know. You absolutely have to tell them that you're nominating them. It's really important. And the way that you do this, you simply have to just sit them down and just probably tell them 3 key things. 1, that you think they're doing great things in their vet program. 2, that you feel that they've got the qualities and attributes of making a really worthy applicant for the New South Wales Training Awards. And 3, you feel that they would be a really good vet ambassador. Now, this isn't always easy. I mean, some people can accept that kind of praise very easily, but there are some people that don't. Some people struggle with praise, and especially, suddenly, if they haven't had much praise on their life journey and suddenly someone comes up and tells them they're great, it might be just a bit confronting from at the start. And also, some people are very uncomfortable about talking about themselves, and being part of a nomination process, you do actually have to tell people about your achievements, and it can be a bit confronting for people. So look, you really do need, if you're thinking of nominating someone, sit them down, tell them that what you're actually doing, and just be very, very, just take them through the process and let them know what you're doing. Look, there are a few good ways to do this. When you tell someone that you're about to nominate them, you have to make sure that they're in a safe and secure environment. They have to feel comfortable talking to someone that's going to nominate them. Find out what they're passionate about. If you know their life goals and their life dreams, then if you say, look, if you, by winning the New South Wales Training Awards, you can actually start, you can move towards achieving those passions. That's really important. That'll get someone inspired. You yourself have to be passionate by when you're telling them about the importance and significance of the Training Awards. If you kind of go, I'll nominate you for the awards, if you don't have that real passion, they're not going to probably really want to be involved. And look, this is just a very small kind of comment, but if someone really is struggling with talking about themselves, and what people sometimes say is talking themselves up, just suggest that they write in the 3rd person. So rather than saying, I received a community award, just tell them to say, Andrew received a community service award. Sometimes that distance makes the capacity to talk about yourself just that little bit easier. So once you've actually told someone you're going to nominate them for the awards, then you've got to decide how you're actually going to go about it. And there's 2 real processes. You can either do it collectively or separately. If you decide to do it collectively, that's where you sit down with an applicant and you go through the award criteria together. They tell you their responses to those 4 criteria, the 4 criteria for each of the award categories. You write it down, just jot it down, and then you type it up afterwards. It's probably the easiest way to go and the quickest. You may do it over 1 or 2 sessions, but that's certainly one way to go. But if someone's not quite very well, they may not be very comfortable doing that, they can also do it separately. They can go off, they can write their responses to the criteria themselves and then just email it back to you in a Word document or a kind of an email. Whichever way you go, it just completely depends on the communication preference of the applicant. The important thing is you need to involve them in the process all the way along. And so if you're continually communicating with the applicant, at least you'll be able to say, look, we really need to get these responses done because we're getting closer and closer to the deadline date. So that communication phase is really, really important. So look, I want to bring in our ambassador. We've got Liam here, Liam Muldoon, 2017 Vocational Student of the Year. Liam, if you had to give one piece of advice to a nominator about how to communicate to an applicant, what would it be?
Look, I think if you've identified someone as an applicant, I think you've already put a lot of thought into it and you realise that they are someone who's pretty special and done something pretty important. And I think it's important that you communicate that with them and explain to them why that you feel that they'd be suitable as a nominee for such a prestigious award. Look, it's focusing on those positives and the opportunity and the outcomes, I think, is really important. And explain to them why you think that they're a good applicant for something like this. Look, I can speak personally that when I've been through this award system and process. It's been nothing but a really positive, and I've experienced a lot of personal growth and also a lot of career opportunities as well. So I think expressing that and letting them know that, you know, this is what it's about, this is a really good opportunity.
Fantastic. Thanks, Liam. And look, I'd like to bring Megan in. Megan's nominated a number of people for the New South Wales Training Awards. Megan, how do you communicate with individuals when you're nominating them for the awards?
I do things a little bit differently. I initially put the nomination, invitation in writing, usually via an email with the relevant award nomination criteria attached. And this is so I can give the applicant plenty of information and to formally recognise the applicant's achievements and success. They've got something in paper then to sort of show off. It's important to give clear direction in that email and instructions on what's involved, what your expectations are, and what they need to do to be nominated. I follow this up in about 24 hours. I can do this either in person or over the phone. If they haven't already approached me or called me first, which is usually the case with their excitement, to ask them if they've got any questions or if they need any support with anything at all. On the rare occasion that they do not want to proceed with the nomination, which does happen from time to time for a whole range of reasons, we talk about their concerns and we try to resolve any issues together, if possible, before making the decision to go ahead.
Fantastic. And Megan, look, can I ask you, similar to the question I asked Liam, if you could give just one piece of advice to a nominator on how to communicate with an applicant, what would it be? What would be the key piece of advice you'd give to someone that's nominating someone for the awards?
Well, like you said earlier, in person is usually the best way, but we can't always communicate in person. There's so many ways you can communicate remotely, just like we're doing now. You know, if you've got the equipment, it's best to use video conferencing via a computer, laptop or a phone, such as Zoom or Teams. And this will give the nominee some experience with their interview skills too, which, you know, you can also do in person, which will be of value to them during the awards process, especially when they're getting interviewed, if they get to that point. Alternatively, a combination of phone, text, email will keep the communication going.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Megan. Look, and we've got a question. One of the questions came in that was, why is it important to communicate with an applicant when you nominate them from the New South Training Awards? Look, this is a great question to answer. Applicants have to be actively involved in the nomination process because it's just completely counterproductive to nominate someone for the New South Wales Training Awards, put in an application without letting them know, because eventually they're going to be sitting in front of a judging panel, and the judging panel would have read the application, and it will become very apparent to a judging panel if they realise that the person sitting in front of them has no idea what was written in the application. We have heard there could be some instances that happening. There really needs to be that active involvement of a person in the application process. It's also really important that when you're a nominator and you're thinking of when you're sitting down with someone and telling them you're going to nominate them, or as Megan said, communicating with them via phone or via any other media, you need to actually take them through the conditions of entry for the New South Wales Training Awards, because it's a big commitment and they may not be aware of it. So I'm just going to quickly go through these and I'll need to read them just to make sure I get them right. You need to tell them that if they're shortlisted as a regional finalist, they'll have to actually participate and go to a regional award ceremony. Now that's pretty easy because it's going to be local. They'll just go along to the award ceremony, find out whether or not they won the regional award. If they win that regional award, they must attend the New South Wales Training Awards presentation in Sydney. Now that could be big. If you're out in Western New South Wales, that could be a big journey to get down to Sydney. If you win a state award, you have to attend a 4-day professional development session in Sydney. Now, from everyone I've spoken to, including Liam, this is just an amazing 4 days. But it's a big commitment, and if you're going to put your name forward, you have to be aware that you're going to do it. And also, if you win the state award, you have to attend the Australian Training Awards, which is the National Training Awards. Now, they circulate from city to city every year. It may be that you'll have to go to Hobart, you may have to go to Darwin, Perth, you may have to go to Brisbane. So when you actually put your name forward, you have to actually accept the fact that you are agreeing to abide by these conditions. And of course, you're agreeing to take on that ambassador role. So be involved in media interviews, doing exactly what Liam's doing now, just putting in those extra yards. So when you nominate someone, it's really important to take them through those conditions of entry so they know what they're actually getting themselves into. And actually, look, I wouldn't mind actually going over to Liam now. I mean, look, Liam, you progressed through the regional stages, you went on to the state stages, you then went and participated in the Australian Training Awards at the national stage. How important is it to understand from an applicant's point of view what you're actually getting yourself into?
Yeah, look, it is a fair level of commitment. It is fair to say that. But in saying that, I think it's important just to understand that from the get-go. Have that open line of communication with your employer. That there is the possibility that you may end up needing to take 4 days to Sydney. So having those conversations early is really important, I think. But generally speaking, I think you'll tend to find 99.9% of employers are going to be very supportive for the simple reason it looks really good for them as well. If they've got somebody who's representing at that level, they want to promote it and they want you to succeed because it looks great for them too. So having those conversations early, I think, is really important. It is a level of commitment, but just bear in mind that it also is an incredible opportunity.
Fantastic. Thanks, Liam. And look, I mean, Megan, once again, you've nominated many people. I mean, how do you prepare individuals for what they're about to go into when they go?
Initially, booking a time to meet with them, sit with them, or over Zoom. You need to spend time with them on this. You need to ensure that they feel confident. A lot of my candidates have everything else but that skill of getting up and speaking. That's something you can practice with them. It's like practicing interview skills. Practice, practice, practice. I can't stress that enough. You know, that's a skill that can be learned. It's all about them feeling confident about what they're talking about and reinforcing what they're doing and making sure that, you know, you're positively reinforcing what they're doing.
Fantastic. Thanks, Megan. And look, I mean, that's pretty much as we wanted to talk about in this particular webinar. I mean, if we just summarise and conclude, communication is critical. If you're going to nominate someone for the New South Wales Training Awards, engage them right from the start. They must feel a sense of ownership over the process. And of course, if they need to be familiar with everything that's said in the application because they're going to sit in front of judging panels that have read that application, so they need to know what's there. Communication is really important. So, look, that's as much as we're going to say. Look, I mean, I might throw over to Liam. Look, any concluding thoughts you may have on communication with an applicant during the New South Wales Training Awards?
Yeah, look, I think being open and honest with the applicant as to what they can expect, and you being right across if you're sitting here watching this webinar, hopefully you are getting right across what is required, but having that information at hand is going to give them confidence as well, I believe. So you being across it's going to be really important to have that conversation. So when they've got those questions, you've got some answers. I think that's really important.
Fantastic. Thanks, mate. And Megan, any closing comments you have on the process of communicating with an applicant?
Look, I think as a nominator, if you don't feel confident that they are confident and that they're ready for this, then you need to practice more, or you need to ensure that you're making them feel confident in whatever way you can do this. You can't put them up on stage and, let everything fall away from them. You want them to succeed. So when you're confident, you should be pretty confident that they're confident then too.
Fantastic. Thanks, Megan. And Eduardo, any concluding thoughts on this particular?
A couple of recommendations. Always try to reach out, either if you're nominated as the employer or the training provider. It's like a training contract. There's three parties: the learner, the training provider, and the employer. Make sure that everyone is aware of the application. When you're nominating and you have decided to go ahead with the process, share your login details of a workforce, which is the application system, so the learner can actually go into the system and fill out the part that they need to complete. And same as the nominator, there's parts that they need to complete. If they're still not sure that they want to be nominated for the Training Awards, or you have seen something in them that you know that if you put them in that process, reach out to the parents, to the family, the friends, get other people to help you pressure them into getting into the process. That's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Eduardo. And look, thanks, everyone. Thanks for being part of this. Is the second webinar of the series. And thanks again, and we'll be back.